feel that he was misled by his national security advisors, whoever it was that told him there was no classified information in there, now that he's seen these messages?
I've now been asked and answered this question 3 times by the both of you, and I've given you my answer. The president feels the same today as he did yesterday.
Okay,
Philip.
and on my follow-up on what you had just
No,
said.
go ahead, Philip. Caitlin, I'm not taking your follow-up. Philip, go
I have
ahead.
a follow-up on something you just said, though, Caroline. That's
Caitlin,
regarding
I'm not
Jeffrey
taking
Goldsworth.
your follow-up. Philip, go ahead. I have called on you. Thank you.
The Vice President seemed to express.
Do you believe that a mistake was made here, though, to have this conversation, to add a reporter, and to have it on an unsupported, classified group setting?
Yes, there is something actually going on. This is what Charlie Key put out. The real scandal of this would have been if we found these text messages or the signal messages and Trump team was working against him. Charlie Key just nailed it, and that is the truth. He argues there is a win in the signal chat mess of showing the American people that Trump crew has his back, unlike the snakes who stabbed him in the back during his first term. Instead of what you found was that every single one of these people, Vice President J.D. Vance, were actually defending President Trump's agenda in private the same way they have been doing in public. Just imagine if these people were saying things going contrary to Trump, how that could have turned out. But liberals will always pick up a story like this and go with it. It is everywhere. Someone said on MSNBC, oh, this person was even in Russia. We are sure Russia picked up that information. They are just spreading lies upon lies about these issues. It is important we take an exclusive look. I have a couple of clips to show you.
Fortunately, all of this good is happening for our country. This administration is working hard on behalf of the American public every day, but the mainstream media continues to be focused on a sensationalized story from the failing Atlantic magazine that is falling apart by the hour. Here are the facts.
Do you believe that a mistake was made here, though, to have this conversation, to add a reporter, and to have it on an unsupported, classified group setting?
Caitlin, as I've just told you, I've just answered the question. I wasn't part of it. And, I'm not going to speculate more than what the president's already talked about and those who've been involved have talked about. But we'd love to talk about the veterans.
Yeah, and I do have questions about the veterans, but given what we saw with the group chat and how this was used, you are a member of the cabinet. You obviously know these other members, several of them who were in there. Is this typical for the cabinet to have conversations over Signal? Is this something that you use?
Well, Kaitlan, Senator, you undoubtedly do not want to talk about the VA. I have a question as VA Secretary. As Cabinet, I want to ask you, because I've been curious about this, because my job is to take care of veterans, and I would like to know why CNN is hostile to veterans, especially one in Florida, where you just had a $5 million defamation suit taking offense at a veteran who was trying to help people. In fact, one of your employees actually said, we're going to nail him. I have a question for you, Kaitlan. Is that employee still employed? Are you really concerned about veterans? So if we don't want to talk about veterans now, you want to talk about everything else, I'd like to hear from CNN as the Veteran Cabinet Secretary why CNN seems to have a problem with veterans.
Well, Mr. Secretary, respectfully, my question was about whether or not you as a member of the cabinet use this. And respectfully, I'm conducting the investigation. And I do have a lot of questions for you on Veterans Affairs, but I don't think it would be unwarranted to ask
What you want to do is talk about a subject that I've already answered. And if you want to continue this like this, that's fine. But there are VA employees who are working very hard. There are veterans who get their care from the VA and they get their benefits from the VA. And it does me no good to speculate on something that I've already asked and answered. So I've asked and answered your question. Why don't you answer mine? Is this person still employed who said they were going to nail one of my veterans, who you had to do a $5 million award from a jury because of defamation, and then you settled the case? Answer my question.
Respectfully, sir, I'm asking the questions here, and I have no involvement in what you're referencing there. But if you don't want to answer the question about whether or not...
Why aren't launch times on a mission strike classified?
Again, I would defer you to the Secretary of Defense's statement he put out this morning. There were various reasons he listed, things that were not included in that messaging thread that were not classified. And again, going back to the American public, do you trust the Secretary of Defense, who was nominated for this role, voted by the United States Senate into this role, who has served in combat, honorably served our nation in uniform? Or do you trust Jeffrey Goldberg, who is a registered Democrat and an anti-Trump sensationalist reporter? This this president and this national security team are putting our national security and the American people first. We are restoring American strength around the world, and the results of this operation speak for themselves.
Putting aside Jeffrey Goldberg, though, just for for American service members who are going to have to carry out these missions in the future, what I guess the message that's coming from the response to all this that we're hearing is that nothing sensitive happened.
Yes, I just like the fact that she is calling these people out the way it should be, because at a certain point they used to go away with this. Yes, and responding to the questions the way we wanted. When you take a look at what is going on with the mainstream media, they just want to hang around bad things. I want to see a segment where CNN, MMBC is doing, pointing out things Trump has done so far. They don't focus on that. They are going to run this segment. If you check now, they have done about maybe 50 to 100 videos concerning this. A single day, not even a single day. That is to tell you, they like this kind of narratives. It is crazy. But I question this. If you are a journalist, something like this happen, you know that this is a secret. You should not take these informations and publish. If you are publishing these informations, it therefore means you have a different agenda. This journalist in question, I've seen what he has done. He talks against Trump every single day. So seeing him continuing to publish this information clearly tells you his agenda. They have made a mistake, like to add you on the group. You've discovered it. Please sign out, contact, don't even go into publishing.
I don't know that they're comfortable with that. So can you explain, had these messages been published, would the plans have moved forward? Would the launch have still taken off?
What I can tell you is that the president, as the commander-in-chief of our United States Armed Forces, and Secretary Pete Hegseth, who is an incredible man and a warfighter himself, take the lives of our American service members with the utmost responsibility, and they would never do anything intentionally to put their lives at risk. And again, they are working hard on that every single day, and we are protecting our service members while also restoring peace throughout this globe. It's something the previous administration has not done. And I would just add one more point. We are not going to be lectured about national security and American troops by Democrats and the mainstream media who turned the other cheek when the Biden administration, because of their incompetence, left 13 service members dead in Afghanistan, and not a single person in the previous administration was held accountable for that botched withdrawal. Joe Biden said, in fact, it was a great operation. That is despicable. It's unacceptable to this president and this Secretary of Defense. The National Security Advisor has taken responsibility for this inadvertent number being added to the messaging thread.
Yes, I give credit to Trump administration for doing this, acknowledging that this happened. If it was another person, they could have turned the story as it's a lie. Bring up some kind of stories. Like they acknowledge that this happened. This was a mistake, and no sensitive information was on that text. Along the way, for the mainstream media to even appreciate the administration for accepting that this was real, they don't do that. It is always to push certain narratives for political gains. I understand this is the best thing Democrats want to see. We still have a long time to go. And really watching the Trump administration where things like this should not be happening. Yeah. The best thing to me, if someone made a mistake and acknowledge it, yeah, we move on.
And one on a follow-up on something you just said, but since we have these messages released, and you said that the president has now personally reviewed them, at the chat, at one point, Pete Hegseth wrote, 1415 strike drones on target, and in all caps, he said, this is when the first bombs will definitely drop. Does the president feel that he was misled by his national security advisors, whoever it was that told him there was no classified information in there, now that he's seen these messages?
I now been asked and answered this question 3 times by the both of you, and I've given you my answer. The president feels the same today as he did yesterday.
Okay,
Philip.
And on my follow-up on what you had just said.
Go ahead, Philip.
I have a
Caitlin,
quick-
I'm not taking your follow-up.
I have a follow-up on something you just said, though, Caroline. That's
Caitlin,
regarding
I'm not
Jeffrey
taking.
Gold.
You said it's about what they think your intentions are. So everybody's got to be really careful.
I should know.
It is crazy. You can see clearly how these people are falling off. They think they can be Trump. You cannot be Trump. Be yourself. You can't fake it. People know who this lady is. To a lot of people.
And one on a follow-up on something.
Idaho.
Well, the 2 stars are Gal Gadot.
More fuel on the fire that there's a potential.
The economy added 16 points.
Your show's on YouTube.
It's a
now.
different mechanism. It's the same thing, though.
1980, so I come after us, and that's the way it is.
But George